Right now, the United States Supreme Court is deciding a case in 2026 that could forever change the relationship between the government and every gun owner or privacy enthusiast in America. The case is called Chatry versus United States, and what's at stake isn't just one man's conviction. It's whether the government can use your own cell phone to build a secret registry of every person who has ever purchased, own, or potentially fired a gun. If that doesn't get your attention, it should. And by the way, it's not just limited to the Second Amendment, because the government could use this information and this technology against anyone basically going anywhere for any reason. Religion, freedom of speech, demonstration, protests, you name it, it's here, it's up for grabs because the technology to do it already exists and it's already being used. So guys, let's get into it. Let's start with defining what is a geofence, because I realize that a lot of people probably do not know. A geofence warrant is a reverse location search. So a traditional warrant works the way that our founders intended. The police identify a suspect, they establish probable cause, and then they get a judge to authorize a search of that specific person's property, like the trunk of their car, or their bedroom in their home, or whatever else the case might be. A geofence warrant flips that on its head. Police draw a virtual boundary around a location, and then they put a time period on it. Maybe a particular street intersection between, say, 6 p.m. and 9 p.m. Then they demand that a technology company, usually, but not always, Google, hand over information on every device that was present inside that boundary at that time. No suspect, no probable cause against any individual, just a digital dragnet. Now, Google's internal database, known as Sensor Vault, has stored detailed location records from hundreds of millions of devices worldwide, compiled from GPS, Wi-Fi, cell towers, and Bluetooth signals. When police serve a geofence warrant, Google searches that entire database, all 592 million accounts, and returns a list of every device in the area at that time. Law enforcement then narrows the list and asks Google to unmask the identities, which was given to them anonymously. The critical part, that narrowing process. Steps 2 and 3, that happens with zero judicial oversight. In other words, no judge, no court to tell them no probable cause, no dice. Law enforcement decides on their own whether they have enough to investigate and go further. Now, I want to be clear, this isn't some sort of obscure cyberpunk thing that just never ever happens, or it's only used in extreme homicide cases, right? This has exploded in popularity. In 2018, Google received about 982 geofence warrants. Just 1 year later, in 2019, that number went from under 1,000 to over 8,000. It skyrocketed to 8,396 geofence warrant requests. That's roughly a 750% increase in 1 year. By 2020, it hit 11,554. In total, Google received over 20,000 geofence warrants in just 3 years, making up more than 25% of all warrants served on the company. And those are just the numbers from Google. Think about Apple, Lyft, Uber, Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, you name it. Law enforcement has gone from using these warrants in rare, serious, violent criminal cases to deploying them for routine property crimes in some cases, including a case involving missing tires worth about $650. This is not the targeted scalpel that is typically required to get a warrant. This is a surveillance sledgehammer. Now, here's where it gets personal. If you're into firearms, like firearms, or you just are a civil rights enthusiast for every gun owner in America, think about where you go to exercise your Second Amendment rights. Maybe for some lucky ones, you go out to your backyard or a friend's farm or ranch or something like that. But for most Americans, you go to gun stores, you go to shooting ranges, you attend gun shows, you hunt on public and you hunt on private land. Every single one of those locations, and I promise you, someday will be geofenced. You see, the government doesn't need a national firearms registry when it can simply draw a digital fence around every gun store, every range, and every gun show, and every popular hunting ground in the country, then demand the identity of every cell phone that was inside during those business hours. Now I know what you're saying, just because I walked into a gun store doesn't mean I bought or even own a gun. I hear ya. But if you do that consistently across months and years, you've probably built a database of people who overwhelmingly likely do. If you're the government, you can figure out who's buying guns, who's owning guns, and who's shooting guns. You have assembled, forget through the back door, through the front door, a comprehensive registry of American gun owners. The exact thing that Congress has expressly prohibited by federal law. And folks, we already know that the ATF has been using geofence warrants for years. They have come up on cases, so it's not like this is something that would never, ever happen before, in case there was any lingering doubt. It gets worse. Companies have historically kept this sort of data not for days, not for weeks, but for years. And in some cases, indefinitely. Google's Sensor Vault contained location records dating back nearly a decade, even though Google announced in late 2023 that it would shift to on-device storage and shorten the default retention to 3 months. That change is only prospective, or so they say. Years worth of historical data has already been collected and has already been stored, and in many cases, already has been handed over to law enforcement. Other companies haven't even made those changes. Your location data, what store you went to, that sort of thing, can easily be found with the proper diligence from even 2, 5, maybe even 10 years ago or more. So obviously the Fourth Amendment is highly involved here as well. The Fourth Amendment exists for a reason. This is the amendment that protects Americans from unreasonable searches and seizures. And it came from a history where the Founding Fathers just dealt with the British trying to use sweeping, suspicionless searches that defined colonial rule. The founders lived under general warrants and writs of assistance. These were documents that let the government agents search anyone, anywhere, for any reason at many times, with no accountability. The outrage over those abuses was so central to the revolution that John Adams said the 1761 challenge to the writs of assistance was the moment, quote, the child independence was born, end quote. Geofence warrants are the digital reincarnation of those general warrants. They name no specific suspect. They establish no individualized probable cause. They describe no particular person or thing to be seized. They sweep up the innocent and the guilty alike based on nothing more than physical proximity to a location and time. A major federal circuit court, the Fifth Circuit, recognized this in 2024 and ruled that geofence warrants are categorically unconstitutional. Quote, the modern day general warrants, end quote, that our founders fought to abolish. And in a recent United States Supreme Court case, Carpenter versus US, the Supreme Court already themselves told us that the location data deserves heightened constitutional protection. The court recognized in that ruling that tracking someone's movements over time creates their familial, political, professional, religious, and sexual associations. If 127 days of cell tower data required a warrant in Carpenter, how can a geofence warrant that searches 592 million accounts without a single identified suspect survive constitutional scrutiny? We will find out. And let's of course not forget about the human cost. It's easy to forget about the human cost when we're talking about statistics, when we're talking about concepts and ideas. Ask Mr. Jorge Molina. In 2018, police in Arizona arrested the 23-year-old for murder based on Google geofence data and the fact that he drove a white Honda. He spent 6 days in jail. Now, it turned out that the police had the wrong guy. It was actually his stepfather, who, by the way, also happened to have a violent criminal history and had been driving his car. But by the time that the truth came out, the damage was done. Mr. Molina lost his job. He couldn't pass a background check. His car was repossessed. He dropped out of college. His mugshot was everywhere. He still has nightmares. Now imagine that same technology pointed at you. Not because you committed a crime, but because you visited a gun store or house of worship or bookstore or protest or demonstration simply on the wrong day at the wrong time, and you turned out to be near a crime scene without ever even knowing it. Your name ends up in a law enforcement database. Maybe it leaks. Maybe an employer finds out. In a country where anti-gun, anti-protest, and everything else, all the bias and all the politicization of everything else going on, is so real, being flagged in a government surveillance database as a insert rabble-rouser type here that you want, could that be the difference between a promotion, a job, something else? What do you think? The founders didn't write the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, the Fourth Amendment, and the rest so that the government could track who exercises it. They didn't write the Fourth Amendment so law enforcement could search 592 million people to find one suspect. Chatry versus United States is not just a case about one robbery in Virginia. It is the case that will determine whether the Constitution still means what it says, that the government needs to identify you and have a reason before it searches you. Or is it a case about whether law enforcement will have reasonable access to the efficient tools that it needs to fight crime and protect communities? That is their primary duty. Why would we ever think about taking away one of the emerging best new tools to solve key important crimes? You tell me in the comment section below, which narrative do you think is right? But make no mistake, if the Supreme Court strongly upholds geofence warrants, then every protest, every house of worship, every gun store and gun range potentially becomes a surveillance trap, a collection data point. And we all know what can easily happen after that. I appreciate you sticking around. Be sure to hit that like button. Let me know down below, what do you think is going on here? What do you think the outcome is going to be? What will the Supreme Court do? And which right, first, second, or fourth, is the most severely implicated? I look forward to reading those later. And we're going to end with our ever popular quote of the day. This one comes from William Pitt the Younger, if you're familiar. Quote, "Necessity is the plea for every infringement of human freedom. It is the argument of tyrants. It is the creed of slaves." I appreciate you sticking around. I'll see you in the comments section and in the next one. Take care. Thanks for joining us on that video. And if you liked that one, then I think you're going to like these over here too.